NTA. You can't beat the rich.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Yes, it be like said. Hello. Water supply deficit ranks among perennial developmental challenges in the country. But now government says it is time to tackle it. The question is how? And that's where we go tonight. Good evening and welcome to Weekend File. Among the numerous natural resources in Nigeria, water resource is most plenteous, but poor management and lack of capacity to supply sufficient potable water in quantity and quality by concerned agencies have been an age-long challenge. Efforts at remedying the challenges of sustainable and successful water management by successive administrations in Nigeria failed to solve the current inadequate water services and sanitation problems, which have necessitated the need for a better management alternative. In his usual tradition of addressing perennial developmental problems head-on, President Muhammadu Buhari had on the 8th of November declared state of emergency on water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. This was at the inauguration of the National Action Plan for the Revitalization of Water Supply, where he made it clear that the action plan has become imperative to reduce high prevalence of waterborne diseases in parts of the country. He pointed out that the country failed to meet the MDG's target for water supply and sanitation, which ended in 2015, and called on state governments to complement this new effort, work together in synergy to enable the country achieve SDG's targets for water, sanitation, and hygiene by 2030. To bring us up to speed with the strategies being put in place to accomplish this objective is Benson Ajishageri, Director, Water Supply, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, who is expected to explain the substance in the new initiative. My name is Kurian Umayo, and you are in the right place for news, views, and analysis. This is Weekend File, and on this platform, the news leads. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Katowice, Poland, ahead of the climate change conference under the United Nations Framework Convention kicking off on Sunday. The president left Abuja earlier today, accompanied by the governors of Niger, Kogi, and Enugu State. He was seen off at the airport by Minister of FCT, Mohammed Musa Bello, his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, and other senior government officials. Another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has assured farmers affected by flood adequate compensation package to cushion the negative effect of the excess rain. In a statement by Special Advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, to mark 2018 Farmers' Day held in Bayelsa State, President Buhari commends farmers on their resilience and hard work, noting that the future of Nigeria hinges to large extent on modernized agriculture in Nigeria. The president urged youth to actively participate in the agricultural revolution as government is supporting meaningful projects in partnership with private sector players. The 2018 Farmers' Day has the theme Youth Agents of Agricultural Development in Niger Delta. Presidential candidate of Advanced People's Democratic Alliance, Shitu Kabir Mohammed, has raised alarm over the impending constitutional danger of the president signing the Electoral Act Amendment Bill into law. He raised the alarm at a meeting of all political parties, officials, and their presidential candidates with the General Abdulsalami Abubakar National Peace Committee in Abuja. Political correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports.
It was a meeting preparatory to the signing of a peace accord ahead of the 2019 general elections by presidential candidates of all the political parties. The APDA presidential candidate was emphatic in his concern on the proposed signing of the amended Electoral Act into law.
There are three fundamental issues that we need to look at there. One, in that we are talking of, there are Act 85, which is talking of electronic voting, which is too short for our populace in the rural area to be educated about.
I'm not sure how helpful to begin to try to change the rules just when the match has already begun. Because those who are going to play ought to have mastered the rules and train on the basis of the rules as they exist.
General Abdulsalami Abubakar reacts to the observation as he maintains that the committee is strictly in place towards ensuring that peace reigns before, during, and after the elections.
We will forward this to the appropriate authority in order for them to listen to what you, the politicians, are saying. We will also involve INEC on the issue you have raised.
National Chairman of the APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, also cautions on the increasing incidents of hate speech and other infractions in the polity. The peace accord is to be signed by all presidential candidates on the 11th of December 2018 in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf, NT News.
In the meantime, presidential candidate of the People's Trust, Mr. Fasheun, has said that devolution of power to states is an effective approach in dealing with security issues. He said this at the one-year anniversary of the Nigerian intervention movement in Abuja. Abdullahi Suleimani Yaji has that report.
Solidarity forever.
Initiated to be an all-inclusive pro-democracy movement with membership of about 41 political parties over a year ago, the Nigerian intervention movement convened the consultative meeting to reflect on its achievement and chart a way forward. National security took the center stage.
So anything that will encourage decentralization, I mean, we are for it. We talk about devolution of power, even in transmission of power.
So we do civic advocacy so that people will be inspired enough and willing to participate in electoral politics.
We just need people of thought and people of vision that can move the quality of life of our citizenry forward.
As the nation counts down to the 2019 general elections, the Nigerian intervention movement, also referred to as the third force, is galvanizing support across the country to deepen good governance and facilitate development. The forum condoled with the federal government and people of Nigeria on the death of gallant soldiers killed while fighting the Boko Haram insurgency and warned against politicizing the sad event as the nation mourns. Abdullahi Suleimani Yaji, NTA News.
And more political reports ahead. The People's Democratic Party's Presidential Campaign Council has released the operational directorates as well as names the spokespersons for its 2019 presidential election campaign. This follows the maiden meeting of the party's Presidential Campaign Council, chaired by the Director General and President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki. Political correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports.
The campaign council named former governor of Cross River State, Senator Lee Elimoke, as Deputy Director General Operations, while former presidential aspirant Tanimu Turaki, SAN, is named as Deputy Director General Administration. Other directorates include Contact and Mobilization, Youth, Women, Finance, Media and Publicity, headed by Kola Olobondio, as well as Communication and Strategy, headed by Bolaji Abdullahi, among others. The 8-man spokesperson of the campaign include Buba Galadima, Akino Shuntokun, Osita Chidoka, Senator Dino Melaye, Nena Ukeje, Shagun Shoumi, Kazima Fegua, and Umar Sani. Dr. Bukola Saraki urged them to dwell on issue-based campaigns.
During the period of our campaign, we'll be telling Nigerians how we believe with our candidate, with the PDP, there will be a better life, there will be a better Nigeria, we'll get Nigeria working again.
The PDP presidential campaign starts on Monday in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Now, the chairman, All Progressives Congress, APC Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Ini Obobido, has condemned in strong terms the action of the Speaker, Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, on Nifiok Luke in declaring the seats of 5 members of the APC vacant. Didion Iba reports that the chairman, while addressing a press conference in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, attributed the action to the crisis in the House of Assembly.
The chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Ini Okubido, while describing his party men as law-abiding citizens, says the illegality of declaring the seats of its members vacant despite subsisting court orders is the immediate cause of the crisis in the State House of Assembly. He described as untrue the claims in some quarters, but the crisis was caused by APC members who defected from the PDP, maintaining that his members are peaceful and law-abiding. On the call for the redeployment of the new Commissioner of Police, Mr. Okubido says the new police boss is a consummate professional with good track records and will perform his duties creditably to the satisfaction of all Akwa Ibom people.
Whatever the situation is, nobody should put the APC in the picture of the people causing crisis in the state. Rather, we are law-abiding, we have tried everything. If we were not, we wouldn't have gone to court.
The state APC chairman also dismissed rumors that APC members in the State House of Assembly are planning to impeach the state governor. Rather, he maintained that his members are planning for a peaceful election, which he says is barely 3 months away. He later addressed the youth wing of the party in the state, where he called for calm, and they assured him that they are working tirelessly for the party's victory in the 2019 general election. In Uyo, Edidion Iba, NTA News.
And away from politics, the Nigerian army has called on the attention of all mischief makers to keep the Nigerian army out of their politics and mischief. This is coming on the heels of unsubstantiated publications of casualty figures on the unfortunate attacks on some of its locations in the northeast. Army Public Relations Officer Brigadier General Sani Kokasheka Usman, in a statement, says this is misleading the people and creating erroneous impression of the Nigerian army. Ruth Aguale reports.
The Nigerian army is tasked with the responsibility to protect lives and property, and has continued in its efforts to ensure peace and security, especially in the northeastern part of the country. The army has no doubt recorded great strides in the fight against insurgency. According to reports, more than 1 million displaced persons have returned to their homes and communities across the northeast since 2015. This is as a result of the disbandment of Boko Haram operational headquarters, Camp Zero, in Sambisa Forest in 2016. Also, according to Global Terrorism Index, deaths from terrorism in Nigeria dropped by 80% in 2016, and more than 13,000 hostages have been freed from Boko Haram captivity. However, with the strides recorded so far, the Nigerian army has shown its dissatisfaction on the rates at which some persons ignorantly attack the armed forces. The latest of this development was the attack on the troops' location at Metele, Borno State, which has led to the circulation of inaccurate casualty figures of the troops to disintegrate the leadership of the Nigerian army.
The figure so far has been 23. Even if this one is unfortunate, to continue to spread false information on this fake news, is highly unfortunate and is inimical to national security.
The Nigerian army therefore is asking the general public, all journalists and media platforms to be professional and accurate in their reportage in order not to water down the successes recorded so far. The Nigerian army has no doubt continued to show its commitment to discharge its constitutional duties, especially in the fight against terrorism, saying it calls for a collective responsibility and support from the general public in countering terrorism and insurgency, especially as the nation journeys towards a peaceful, free and fair general elections in 2019. In Abuja, Ruth Aguale, NTA News.
All right, thank you, Ruth, for that report. And I'm now joined by the Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Sani Kokasheka Usman, who is in our Maiduguri studios. Major General Kokasheka Usman, good evening and welcome to Weekend File.
Kiryat, I'm Brigadier General, not the Major General.
Right, thank you for that correction. Thank you indeed. Now, but can you give us a true account of the attack on the troops in Metele, and what are the efforts being put in place to check the unfortunate misinformation making the round?
So sad and unfortunate that our troops came under enemy attack on the 18th of last month, and we suffered casualty, as we mentioned. Sadly, we lost 23 gallant officers and men, and of course, 31 of them sustained injuries. And in respect of the efforts, we are trying as much as possible to make sure that, first and foremost, we give timely and accurate information of all our activities and operations bearing national security concern. And then secondly, we have gone a notch further to identify where those fake news and fabricated stories are coming from. And definitely our legal department is taking steps to make sure that all those involved will be, taken to, court. Then apart from that, we are also making sure that we educate our troops and make them understand that it is the work of mischievous elements in the society, not overall society, because honestly, these fabricated casualty figures being bandied all over the place has greatly demoralized our troops, and it has wider implication to national security and their will to fight. Therefore, we call on all Nigerians to understand that Nigerian Army is always open, and we are there for the Nigerian people to ensure that we perform our constitutional duties, especially as regards to the fight against terrorism and insurgency. And we are doing it diligently to the best of our ability, and to ensure that we carry the people along in terms of information dissemination accurately.
All right, thank you, Brigadier General Kukasheka Osman. Now, what do you say to Nigerians on the commitment of the army to clear the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists? Of course, in terms of having the adequate infrastructure and, of course, equipment to deliver.
We are doing the best we could. And I can rest assure you, right now, the Chief of Army Staff and the entire hierarchy of the Nigerian Army is with the troops. Today, we have been to various locations, and we have been talking to them. In fact, the Chief of Army Staff had one-on-one, talk with them, and they bear their minds, and we see where the problems are. And to the best of our abilities, all the necessary equipment, ammunitions and arms are being given. But people should understand also, this is a democratic system in which procurement and, of course, funding of defense-related issues takes such a long time. Take, for instance, the issue of the $1 million approved recently by Mr. President. Up to now, the process is ongoing. The Ministry of Defense is still pursuing the matter to the point that when it is done, the armed forces will definitely get more equipment, more arms and ammunition. But for the time being, what we have and what has been procured over the last 2-3 years is being used judiciously.
All right, we wish you well in your undertakings. Thank you so much for being part of our program this evening. That's Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Osman. Thank you indeed once again. You reached us all the way from Maiduguri Network Center. All right, now, revitalization of water resources management and supply have been brought to the front burner by the declaration of state of emergency on the sector by the federal government. The move has been described by many as a step in the right direction, which, if well implemented, would provide solution to the perennial water problems in Nigeria. We will learn more about the water situation in different parts of the country in our correspondence report coming up ahead. This is Weekend File, and the program continues after the break.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat, Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat, Strepsils. You in the pollution, it's you, dry throat, Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat, take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils! Strepsils! Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Anywhere you go.
festive season, there's no place like home. Get a GoTV decoder and GoTenna and 1 month of GoTV Max subscription for only 6,900 Naira. GoTV. Live it, love it.
My name is Hajia Halita Aliu, a Nitel pensioner, having served very meritoriously and even serving on the Pension Reform Steering Committee. I ended up without a pension. The National Council on Privatization, under the chairmanship of Vice President Atiku Abubakar at that time, decided to pay us 3 years pension on a take it or leave it basis. Over 16,000 Nitel MTEL pensioners have struggled to get their pensions restored. Unfortunately, all attempts with successive administrations, did not yield any dividends. The quality of our lives, has been severely impacted, by the stoppage of our pension. President Muhammadu Buhari heralded good tidings. Over 10,000 of our members have already been restored to payroll. We are very, very happy. We are very, very grateful.
Nigeria, a land of promise, land of potential, rich in oil, arable land and solid minerals. Yet hunger, joblessness, homelessness and poverty are widespread. Over the years, Nigeria has suffered from hospitals without drugs, schools without teachers, and a huge infrastructure deficit. Clearly, we are yet to reach our full potential. And one of the reasons is because people choose bad leaders. Some even sell their conscience for a few thousand naira. For 2019 elections, don't sell your vote. Don't sell your future. Don't buy the people's lives. Vote selling is a crime against yourself. You will spend the next 4 years paying for it. Vote buying is against the law. Politicians, stop buying votes. People, stop selling your future. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
The Sokoto State Governor and Northwest Zonal Coordinator of the Atiku Abubakar presidential campaign, Right Honorable Aminu Wazir Tambuwal, CFR Mutawallan Sokoto, invites the good people of Sokoto State to the flag of the 2019 Northwest Zonal Campaign Rally of the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, GCON, Wazir of Adamawa, which will hold in Sokoto on Monday the 3rd of December 2018 at the Shehu Kangiwa Square, Sokoto. Time 10 a.m. prompt. Let us get Nigeria walking again. Atiku is the answer. Announcer, Barrister Bello Muhammad, Honorable Commissioner of Information and Chairman, Publicity Subcommittee.
Welcome back. One of the natural resources Nigeria has in abundance is raw water. But despite the deposit, Nigeria is still ranked one of the countries of the world with the lowest access to potable water. Successive administrations in the country have made efforts to address the challenge of access to this basic necessity of life without sustainable result. And so, Musbah Danwahab takes a look at the situation in Nigeria's water supply sector and the government's effort for a turnaround.
Launching of WASH Action Plan. It is the latest climax in the effort by the federal government to turn the tide of the reality in the water, sanitation and hygiene WASH sector. Particularly, the reality of water supply in Nigeria is full of paradox of one living by the river but washes hands with spittle. With the abundance of raw water in Nigeria's ecosystem, the country has about 1,800 cubic meters of water per capita. But for now, only about 7% of the Nigerian population has access to public water supply, a drastic decline from the 32% it was in 1990.
It's a shame that in this country today there is not a single city that can boast of 100% pipe-borne water supply.
Despite the fact that provision of public water is a responsibility of the state governments, Water Resources Minister says the federal government has expended more than 2.6 billion naira on rural water supply from 2015 to date. While the number of dams in the country is still low to the requirements, those available are not put to adequate use. Ironically, more people now have access to water supply through self-help. That in turn is having its toll on the environment with the proliferation and indiscriminate sinking of boreholes across the country. Under the Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene (PWASH), the federal government has been mobilizing state governments, private sector and development partners to rewrite the history. The National Water Resources Bill was drafted to address most of these challenges. But then, that is, if and when passed by the Senate, as already done by the House of Representatives.
And without proper regulation, nobody from the private sector will come and invest his money into that. So without the bill, we cannot strengthen the regulation. We cannot set up the regulatory body that we want, that is required, that is necessary for us to be able to proceed.
Water and sanitation are placed sixth among the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. However, it has been agreed globally that the achievements of other goals largely depend on the attainment of the water and sanitation goal. In Abuja, Musbao and Wahab, NT News.
Thank you, Musbao. The recent declaration of national emergency on water by the federal government has been received with applause in Enugu State. Key players who described it as the right step in the right direction say it will no doubt reduce the high prevalence of waterborne diseases in the country. Ifeoma Ndiokoli tells us more.
In Enugu State, over 500 million naira has been spent so far to improve water supply in the 17 local government areas of the state. According to the State Commissioner for Water Resources, Charles Ebumbe, $50 million facility have also been attracted to ensure that every member of the public has access to potable water. The recent declaration of national emergency on water, the Commissioner noted, will therefore go a long way in supporting numerous policies of the state government in eradicating waterborne diseases. The Commissioner regretted that Nigerians, despite development, still defecate in the open and urged the federal government to ensure that the policy is matched with adequate funding and action.
Such a declaration is quite welcome based on the present circumstances that this country is facing as water, sanitation, and health are concerned.
Other people who spoke emphasized the need for every state government to work towards ensuring that the federal government's intervention in the water sector is fully realized.
I want to commend His Excellency, the President, for that declaration, because it's an action in the right direction. I would like to say it should be encouraged, because you're no doubt aware that water is one of the necessities of life. It's one of the 5 necessities of life, and it has been part of the problem of this great country.
For Nigeria to realize the benefits of this intervention and pronouncement, key players suggest that the Federal Ministry of Water Resources should collaborate with its counterpart at the state level to ensure that measures are put in place for its smooth implementation. In Enugu, Ifeoma Ndiokoli, NTA News.
Proliferation of boreholes in Kano State is posing serious environmental challenges which, if measures are not taken, will have an adverse effect on humanity. Yahanasu Hassan Barao has the report.
With more than 12 million population, only 50% of the population have access to potable drinking water in Kano State. This problem forced residents to provide an alternative ways of providing potable drinking water through drilling of boreholes. Although the state is blessed with dams that can meet the needs of the population for domestic, industrial and agricultural purposes, indiscriminate borehole is quite alarming. More worrisome is the failure of the regulatory bodies to control borehole drilling.
Only in places that we have new layout, where now we have a plan for 2019. In the city, some places where you see boreholes or other things, we have an old pipes that are an age. We are now changing them gradually.
A farmer within our scheme to say that he wants to dig a borehole to irrigate, he's wasting his money, and it will not have any waste of water, underground water, because there is water in the canals that the Ade Jamari is providing.
In spite of the fact that water sustains life, People are still not aware of the effect drilling of boreholes at a distance of less than 7 meters between the boreholes and refuse dump sites or on soakaways.
When you drill a borehole in an area, then you are unable to drill a borehole without an established distance apart. You are depleting the shallow aquifers. So what will happen is that you have a hollow in your area and have a hollow inside subsurface. So any small tectonic activity can trigger earth removal.
If the borehole is not well dug, it can have a seepage from the latrines and also as well as from the borrow pit.
No matter what the situation, there is the need for people to always seek expert advice before constructing boreholes to protect the environment and prevent health hazard. In Kano, Yohannes Hassanbaro, NTA News.
Now, water scarcity has made people to look for alternative sources. Correspondent Shola Wahid in this report takes a look at the impact of unregulated drilling of boreholes on the environment in Ibadan.
The importance of water to life cannot be overemphasized as it is used for drinking, cooking, washing, among others. The inavailability of pipe-borne water in many parts of the country have made people to resort to massive drilling of boreholes of variable depth and capacities to meet human needs.
It's here from about 10 years ago. Some people is coming here to come and fetch it. There's no tap water in our area.
It's useful for us to fish, and we really thank God. We even need more.
Against the backdrop, President Muhammadu Buhari declared a state of emergency on water supply sanitation. Statistics show that over 400 boreholes are drilled in Nigeria, with more than 50 of them drilled daily within Oyo State. The question is, are they done in line with professional guidelines?
With the state government and the federal government, because the due process in drilling, you have to be followed.
It is prone to create unwanted hazard like tremor. And that is why the activity must be regulated. It endangers the life of people and even properties. Like last year, we had something like tremor in Shaki. I was there. You see, the earth shook. Some property fell down. Some even started their areas.
The impact of unregulated drilling of boreholes include creating of scarcity drinking water, vanishing moisture in the soil, with adverse effects on agriculture. The public is advised to seek professional advice and services in borehole drilling, as the negative effects of using quacks due to ignorance could be disastrous on the environment. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
Thank you, Shola, and back to the studio. Benson Ajishagiri, the Director of Water Supply and Public-Private Partnership, will be speaking to us on water supply and the proliferation of other alternative sources, among other issues. But this will be after the break.
Going up? Of course you are. And why not? With Glow Internet, built on Africa's largest wholly owned metro fiber network, the sky is, well, it is rather unlimited. Up is upbeat, seamless. Up is quick and easy access to all your favorite apps and entertainment. And there is no downside on a network committed to upping your fun and productivity. Get quick on your uptake, my friend, and offset the odds in your favor. Because on Glow, up isn't an upgrade. It is the upgrade. Going up?
Upgrade to a 4G SIM for free and get 125% bonus. Also enjoy unconditional 25% data bonus non-stop on all auto renewals. Dial *777# to choose a plan.
Hey kids, the holidays are over, but the excitement is still on. Draw what you did in your holidays and you stand a chance to win your dream holiday. Follow 3 simple steps to enter. Step 1, draw your holiday experience. Step 2, snap a picture. Step 3, send picture, name and address to the WhatsApp number 0902 588 8888. Hurry! Go grab your Indomie packs now. Offer valid till stocks last. Terms and conditions apply. Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
And we thank you for staying with us on Weekend File. And I now have with me Benson Ajishaguri, the Director of Water Supply and PPP for the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Thank you for joining us on Weekend File today.
Thank you very much.
Now, the action plan on WASH declared by the President, what does that mean to the ministry?
Thank you very much. The National Action Plan for the revitalization of water supply, sanitation and hygiene is an important document that is intended to galvanize actions by the federal government, the state government and the local government towards achieving these sustainable development goals. It's an important document to us because we missed that opportunity when we had MDG. Remember, we had MDG from 2000 to 2015. During which we were supposed to reduce by half the proportion of people that do not have access to water supply and sanitation. But at the end of that, we missed out. And Nigeria was one of the countries that missed out of the MDG as far as WASH was concerned. And we have learned a lesson from that because we didn't plan for it from the beginning. And that is why this action plan is intended to plan for the future, to plan on how we are going to achieve the sustainable development goals, which is far more stringent than the Millennium Development Goals.
Yeah, Mr. Disagree. One would like to ask the main thrust of this action plan. We have had such in 2003, which was Water for Life. Then in 2004, we also had water supply and sanitation and hygiene. Now, those plans came up just like this action plan now that's been presented to Nigerians. Now, what is the difference? What is the difference, in terms of implementation strategy, in terms of galvanization of all the agencies across the nation? There will, of course, play a role, key role for that matter, in ensuring the actualization of this action plan.
Well, thank you very much. The difference between that and what we are doing now is that during the MDG, we just plan programs, government by government. Water for Life was a program that was planned by federal government, and the state governments planned their own program, and there was no synergy in what we were doing, and that made us to miss out. Now, the National Action Plan for the Revitalization of the WASH in the country is now a collaborative document that has been prepared both by the federal government and the state government. And let me take you how it started. When we finished MDG, we took stock by conducting a national survey. At the end of that survey, we carried out an analysis of the survey in collaboration with the World Bank. And we realized, the problems that we have. And during that period, we discovered that sanitation had dropped, from what it used to be to just barely 29%. Open defecation has been increasing. And water supply has not met the target that was set for it. And then a document was prepared, which we call WASH Poverty Diagnostic Document report, which was prepared by the World Bank on the basis of that analysis. And that report gave us a kind of wake-up call. Because even though when we said we have improved in water supply from about 30% in 2000 to about 69% in 2015, we realized that most of those efforts were not sustainable. because they were based on self-helps by individuals and boreholes here and there, and then we realized that access to what should be a sustainable water supply, which would be potable water, that is water that goes through the pipe to homes, had reduced from 32% to 7%. And that kind of woke everybody up. And we took this report to the National Council on Water Resources, where the Minister of Water Resources is the chairman, and you have all the commissioners of water resources as members. And at the end of that, the revelation of that made everybody to sit up and say, look, let's have a national retreat to see how we can revitalize the sector. That retreat took place in September 2017. The outcome of that retreat was what led to the development of WASH National Action Plan. You can see that it has been a collaborative effort. And the thrust of that, of the National WASH Action Plan, is water for everyone by the year 2030. So it's in tandem with the Sustainable Development Goals.
Now, I asked that question because in the past, there's this, because water is on the concurrent list, actually, and that has made it difficult over time for there to be a synergy that will ensure that whatever policy that is emanating from the federal level will cascade, down to the local government areas. Yes. Okay, now, what is the water coverage situation of the country at the moment?
Thank you very much. For the water coverage, we conducted another survey this year, led by the Bureau of Statistics. And we had a number of development partners, and we supported the process. And at the end of it all, we discovered that the water coverage for the nation is 68.7%. But then we didn't stop there. We look at WASH coverage in schools, WASH coverage in public places, WASH coverage in health centers. And we discovered that the statistics that came out are very, very, disturbing. Because we discovered that in schools, just barely 15% of the schools in Nigeria have access to adequate WASH. In the public places, it's just about, I think, 10-point-something%. In public places, now we're talking about motor parks, we're talking about, markets, we're talking about, health centers. Putting them all together, we discovered that just barely 10% have access to adequate WASH. And then when you go to WASH in the health centers, that is even worse. So all this one led us to develop this action plan, which will ensure that there's water supply and sanitation and hygiene adequately provided, not only at homes, but in the public places, in the schools, and as well as in the health centers.
All right, Mr. Shagiri, I've been privileged to be involved in some research on water supply in Nigeria, and that has led us to different states of the Federation. And we realized that the infrastructure deficit is the major challenge confronting the water sector. A situation where some states have dilapidated water facilities, some of them lasting more than 40 years or thereabout. Now, how does this action plan intend to address the issue of infrastructure deficit in the water sector?
All right, thank you. The action plan itself has 5 thematic areas. The first area is governance, because without the governance, even when you put infrastructure there, at no time, it will fizzle out. So we have to address governance. That is when the issue of policy. It must be the policy of federal government or state government or the local government to put the infrastructure there. And then now they must support it by their law. And apart from that, they must have adequate institutions that will operate and maintain those schemes as at when they do. So that is one component of the action plan. The second component is infrastructure and sustainability. In the infrastructure and sustainability, we have developed a robust plan that will make the state to know where they are and what they need to do to be able to achieve sustainable development goals, and the kind of action that you carry out to be able to operate and maintain the schemes to have sustainability. The third leg of that is sanitation. And in sanitation, the cardinal aspect of that is how to end open defecation. How to put adequate sanitation facilities at the appropriate places apart from homes to be able to end open defecation in Nigeria. That is there. The fourth leg is on how do we finance, funding and financing. And at the center of that is that we are trying to set up what we call National Wash Fund, where we'll be going to be pulling funds as grants, as budget, as well as loans in what we call blended funding or blended financing to be able to have adequate funds to address infrastructure deficit. Because poor investment into the sector has been the bane, which, as you rightly said, has not made this infrastructure to be adequately developed to match the population increase of the country. The last leg is monitoring and evaluation. Now we should be able to monitor what is going on and reporting appropriately so as to be able to showcase what we are doing. Those are the 5 areas that the action plan will be looking into.
Now, what about the maintenance culture, which is lacking in all strata of development in this country? You can install a facility that supplies water to a certain community. If in the next 3 months or thereabout, that could be incapacitated based on a non-maintenance culture or lack of maintenance culture. How will you address that?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's still part of the governance we are talking about. Capacity building is we are beginning with that. Apart from putting in place the policies, apart from putting in place the laws and the institution, then we look at the people. And then they have to be trained. As a matter of fact, federal government is even, as part of that plan, putting on the plan, say, look, any state that commit to implement this action plan, we will begin by giving them capacities. We will support them on governance issues. And then they must commit to putting money on infrastructure to be able to move the sector forward.
All right, Benson Ajishagori, the Director of Water Supply and Public-Private Partnership, thanks for talking to us on this very issue. Well, time couldn't allow us to go into other areas such as funding and what have you, but we know that Nigeria is one of the countries that enjoys some kind of support from international community with respect to water resources. Yeah, once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you very much.
All right, before we go on break, let's take you on this story. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Poland ahead of the climate change conference under the United Nations Framework Convention kicking off on Sunday, that's tomorrow. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the conference, 24th in its series, is organized in collaboration with the Polish presidency.
President Muhammadu Buhari alighted the Nigerian Air Force 001 aircraft at John Paul II International Airport, Krakow, Belize at about 6:30 Saturday evening local time. Accompanied by the governors of Niger, Kogi and Enugu states, the president was received on arrival by some senior officials of the Polish government, Nigeria's ambassador to Poland, ministers of foreign affairs and environment, the national security advisor, as well as other personalities. President Buhari is expected to join other world leaders at the conference otherwise called COP24 to finalize the rules for the implementation of the Paris Agreement on climate change.
President Muhammadu Buhari has shown a rare type of commitment to the issue of climate change, having himself, appreciated how much damage is being caused not only the global environment, but the entire Nigerian geopolitical ecosystem. Each nation of the world is expected to make a voluntary commitment as to how much they wish to do in order to bring down, the rising temperatures all over the world. And Nigeria has been acting very, very responsibly in this regard. So President Muhammadu Buhari would be doing the duty of projecting Nigeria as a very responsible nation, doing its own part in order to cause, a reduction of this unwanted situation in the world.
As part of his engagements in Poland, President Muhammadu Buhari will hold bilateral talks with his Polish counterpart, Andrzej Duda, as well as Prime Minister Morawiecki.
We have enormously good relationships between our own two countries, and we are of the belief that matters of energy and agriculture will preoccupy the president's mind as he engages this country, so that we can see, the most that we can make of it.
Before returning home on Wednesday, the president is expected to interact with the Nigerian community in Poland. From Krakow, Poland, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
We take a short break now. When we return, we'll bring you sports.
2019 elections is approaching.
While making up your mind on who to vote in every part of Nigeria, remember, corruption kills. It results in poorly equipped hospitals, poorly constructed bridges, poor quality of education, lack of jobs, poor quality of healthcare, lack of quality housing, deprivation and suffering, economic depression. It drives away foreign investment. It brings about lack of infrastructure. It is an embarrassment to our nation. At the federal level, in every state, in every local government, vote wisely. Elect leaders with integrity and proven character. That is one critical step towards building a great nation. You have a role to play. Vote wisely.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
You are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
You take that one. You take that one.
You
don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made. Correct. And how they are cook it. Correct. Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Super Falcons of Nigeria lift AFCON trophy for record 9th time, beating Bayana in the final of 2018 AFCON in Ghana as a reaction to stripping of Cameroon of hosting right of 2019 AFCON. Keith George is our guide.
The Super Falcons of Nigeria beat the Bayana of South Africa 4-3 on penalties after the final match ended goalless in regulation time. The Super Falcons, who successfully defended the title, which it won 2 years ago in Cameroon, has now won the competition for the 9th time. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has stripped Cameroon of the hosting right of the 2019 African Cup of Nations. The decision was reached at the end of CAF's Executive Committee meeting held in Accra, Ghana on Friday. Super Eagles captain Mikel Obi, as a way of giving back to the community, partnered with some academies in Lagos to organize a football clinic with the aim of developing future footballers for the country. About 100 children between the ages of 3 and 15 had the opportunity to learn the basics of the game from the Eagles midfielder.
I can see that there's a great talent here, there's amazing players here, and I see that in the next 10 years, 20 years, I see the next Super Eagles captain here.
The Lagos chapter of the Nigerian Association for Physical Health, Education, Recreation, Sports and Dance, NAFA-SD, has organized a 2-day workshop for its members to reposition the body to take its rightful position in sports development in the country. With the theme tagged Empowering Members for Maximum Productivity, there were speakers for football, table tennis and athletics.
They know the game here. When they get back to their school, they can put it into practice to enhance their productivity.
The 44th edition of the annual Ikoyi Golf Club Ladies Open ended on Friday at the golf section of the Ikoyi Club. About 90 amateur women golfers from Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda and international members featured at the 3-day tournament, which was the first time the competition will be a ranking event by the World Amateur Golf Ranking Body.
It's an international player that won this tournament, so we are now more challenged and motivated to do better next year.
With Sports Update, Gifts George, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the Super Falcons of Nigeria on their victory over the Bayana of South Africa in the final match of the 11th African Women Cup of Nations in Ghana. In a statement by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, the president expressed particular delight at the discipline and comportment exhibited by the country's senior women football team, despite the still resistance of their South African counterparts. The president promised commitment to sports development, commending the team's coaching crew, the National Football Federation, NFF, Supporters Club for supporting the players. Sympathizers have continued to call at the Agbo Palace, where residents of the late founder of Oodua People's Congress, Dr. Frederick Fasheun, who passed on at the age of 83. During their reports that the octogenarian has been described as a forthright leader who worked for the unity of Yorubas and the people and Nigeria.
Death of the late medical practitioner and founder of the Oodua People's Congress, Dr. Frederick Fasheun, came to many as a rude shock. Representative of the family and the first son of the deceased, Bankole Fasheun, confirmed the incident.
In the early hours of Saturday, today, 1st of December, I lost my father. At last suit, he passed on peacefully in his sleep.
Meanwhile, the Oni of Ife, Obainiton Ogunwusi, described the late Dr. Frederick Fasheun as a pan-Africanist who, as an Oodua self-determinationist, spent over 2 decades of his life struggling for the survival of the Yoruba people within the autonomy of Nigeria.
It's a great loss, because Baba has gone a long way.
Late Dr. Frederick Fasheun in 1993 founded the movement for the social and economic justice, emerging as its national chairman. His creation of the Oodua People's Congress was agitation against injustice and extrajudicial killing, as well as the unity of the Yoruba race, and him the legendary honor. In Lagos, doing Dia NT News.
And meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated to the Yoruba nation over the death of Frederick Fasheun, the founder of Oodua People's Congress, OPC. A statement by Femi Adesina, special advisor to the president on media and publicity, indicates that the president recalls the role of the deceased in the defunct National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, which campaigned against military rule in Nigeria. The president prayed Almighty God to comfort all those who mourn the octogenarian and grant peace to his soul. And with that, we conclude tonight's edition of Weekend File. We thank you for sharing your time with us. Do this again next week when we return with a fresh edition of the program. From all of us here in the studio, it's good night.